Welcome to Smarter Strategic Thinking, where we invite industry leaders into our podcast to discuss everyday IT infrastructure solutions that businesses face on a daily basis. My name's Ray Quattramini. I have 41 years experience selling IT infrastructure solutions from tape to disc to optical across the globe. If you like us, give us a thumbs up or give us a thumbs down, depends how you are. If you want to follow us, we're going to have quite a lot in these series, and thank you for joining. Today we've got Tvrtko from EuroNAS. I've known Tvrtko 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years about, yeah.
15 years ago when it was just purely EuroNAS.
Exactly.
And the company now has grown quite considerably. From the beginning, what made you want to start EuroNAS?
Well, my career started actually as a tech support guy. So I was actually more technical guy than some businessman. But what I've seen, especially 20 years ago, and you have probably seen it as well, is, hopefully not, it was basically the complexity. Basically, the products were just too complex for the simple system administrator, so to administer. And especially with the storage, you usually install it and forget. So the idea was that when you come back, if something happens, that you really quickly find out what happened. And of course, the setup shouldn't take 2 days, just a few minutes. So that was the idea behind founding a EuroNAS or building such type of a software.
And what problems does EuroNAS solve from a business application perspective?
Well, it's the simplicity, first of all. It's basically, as a system administrator, nowadays you are busy with so many applications and so many things, you don't really want to think about the storage or virtualization.
Yep.
You really just want to do your job. So the idea is that less work and reliability and high availability, which is a good thing, I think.
When did you take the leap from being a technical person to obviously the owner of EuroNAS?
I think what helped me a lot was back in the days I used to work for Adaptec, which was back in the days they were a pretty cool company.
Yeah, they were.
In the storage. And they assigned me to do a technical training to our partners and distributors for their Durastore product. It was a storage box with the iSCSI and high availability and everything. And basically what you needed to do was to connect a null modem cable and to run a command line. So it took me like 2 days to explain to people how to run a iSCSI target.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
And then I said, no, this can't be,
Life can't be this difficult.
Exactly. And especially if something happens, you need to attach a null modem cable, and then you need to, look in some manuals where to look, what happened. So I said, this must be resolvable in a different way. So this is how EuroNAS, that was the beginning of the idea of EuroNAS. And then I left Adaptec and founded the company.
Can you just walk us through what products that you currently sell and you're developing?
Exactly. So basically we started with this, let's call it nowadays, simple NAS product, which would be a single node storage. So if you are looking for a flexible and tailored solution for your iSCSI targets, SMB or NFS or NVMe over fiber. So if you're looking really for a very performance solution which is tailored to your needs, it's the perfect product. If you're looking for high availability, we have a solution where you can have a synchronous replication between two sides. So if one side goes down, the other one will take over. And it's very similar to the storage product. So let's say if you have your virtual machines running and you need a shared storage for it, that would be a perfect choice, because if one server storage node dies, the other one will automatically take over and your virtual machines will continue to run. Then over time we got approached by many of our customers because they said, okay, you guys have a high availability, you have a perfect storage solution, we love it, why don't you put a hypervisor on it and start building a proper the overall solution, because you had only, how should I say, that was like 10 years ago, you would either have solutions like VMware, which were very expensive, and let's say if you need a vSAN or something, that would cost you a fortune. Then you would have open source solutions, which were great solutions, but they would demand from you deep Linux knowledge, command line, and all the stuff that you don't want to mess with. So you didn't have much of a choice, actually. So our idea was to make a simple product. Our eEVOS, which is the name of the virtualization product, you can build it within 10 minutes or 20 minutes. You already can start running, import virtual machines and start using it. And it contains everything you need from a single source. So you can have a backup, you can have a virtualization, and you can have a storage from a single vendor. So if something happens, you have a single point of contact. It's not like, let's say you would have a VMware and Veeam and some HP server, and then if something happens, HP will point to VMware will point to Veeam, and in this case, we are responsible for everything, so we can't escape. We need to help you, you know. And so that was the idea behind it. And it was very good. We were very happy with it. And then with the VMware transition to Broadcom, or purchase from Broadcom, everything changed, and suddenly everything exploded in that direction. And we decided to even develop it further. So eEVOS from, let's say, back 2 years ago, and nowadays it's improved significantly and a lot. And now, for example, it's combined with Ceph, so you can have almost unlimited number of nodes, and you can even decide. So you can build a huge vSAN solution, let's call it that way, where you can have, like, let's say 10, 15 nodes, and then you can decide which one of those will be purely computational for your virtual machines and which one would be for the storage only, or you can mix them. So if you have some less demanding virtual machines, you can run them on a storage server as well. So you have a full flexibility and scale out, so you can expand as much as you like. And then, of course, we have built out of the Ceph storage solution, which is ECAS, and this one basically is based on Ceph. So you get all the advantages of Ceph, but with iSCSI, with an NVMe over fiber, SMB, S3 is coming now soon. And the beauty of this Ceph solution is exactly what we are always trying to do is we are removing the complexity.
Yes.
So the first thing we say to our customers when they evaluate Ceph solution is we ask them not to Google it. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is to Google this solution, because you will just get scared. You know, standard Ceph is filled with command line, filled with some, very smart people writing very smart, complex things in the internet. So it just scares the people. And we made it the way that you can really set up, from zero to hero within 15 minutes. So basically everything is automated. So if let's say to build up a Ceph cluster with us, you just click on next, and you have a Ceph cluster. If you wish to add additional storage, you just click on next, and you add a server. So, and this is pretty unique for Ceph, because Ceph in the past was really built from developers for developers, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
And it's, and for those that don't know, Ceph is a petabyte scale.
Exactly, scale out storage. So
very complex, as you say.
Exactly, if you use it normally, and like I said, if you Google it, it's very complex. And the basic idea for the scale-out storage is that you not only can expand your storage within the server, but if you need a lot of storage, you can just add additional storage server, and without shutting down anything, you just extend it with the storage of this additional server. So you can have hundreds of nodes. Let's give the example. We have many TV stations using it as an archiving solution. So let's say you have a TV news, and as you know, with any news, today it's important, tomorrow everybody forgot about it. Yeah. But they still need to archive it.
They do.
So, and it's every day you have a new footage that you need to archive. So basically you have no other choice but to use such solution, where you can then add additional servers every year or every month, depending how much you need. So it's a perfect archiving solution, for example, as well.
And Ceph is pretty quick to access files as well, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the fun part of it. Usually, the more stuff you put in a server, it gets slower. Yeah. But here it's the opposite. The more servers you add, the faster it gets. So it's actually even a good thing. And we have improved also. You can add, for example, extra drives for metadata. Right. So, for example, you can combine it with, let's say you have millions of files, because let's say you have some footage or whatever, and you need to, people who are looking for this archive, they need to find it as quickly as possible. So normal, an NVMe disks are very expensive. So you can use a rotating SAS disks for it, but put the metadata on an NVMe disk. So basically, if you're looking for files or anything, it's immediately there. But if you're pulling it, it's still in a SAS drive. So you can combine the best of both worlds and get speed and cost effectiveness.
So you've had quite a journey from when you originally started. What in the early days, what was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Well, the biggest challenge was actually, it's funny that you say, but it's really, we were all technicians. So we were support guys. So we had no problems with developing a product. We had no problems with, listening to a customer or, implementing what the customer needs.
Yeah.
But we did have problems with sales, with the marketing, with all this organizational part of the company. It took us a while, to learn the basics, how to run a company. that was maybe what took a while. Yeah.
So, obviously, we've mentioned the Broadcom, the VMware.
Yeah.
What's occurred there? Have you actually seen an uptake in your business, more so in continental Europe than the UK? Because to the people that are going to watch this, are based in the UK. How has that affected your business?
I mean, I'm in a business since '97. So, and to be honest, and I worked for different companies, not before even EuroNAS. I've never seen this in my whole life. I must say, it's it's not a growth; it's explosion. It just exploded, because everybody was really. You had several types of customers. So of course, some of those customers were price driven, because suddenly you didn't have a perpetual license. You needed to subscribe. And the other thing was, many people just got mad because it's not they don't see it as a very nice way to treat a customer. If someone someone tells you, no, you are not doing it this way, you are doing it that way, how I like it. I mean, it usually I see it. The customer should be a king, so the customer should decide what needs to be done with the product or how the product should be. And here I see it as a blackmail almost of a customer. So, and many people saw this as a blackmail. And even if they were happy with the feature set, we have, for example, many MSPs, internet cloud providers, who say, okay, you still lack some functionality, but we are willing to wait and we are willing to collaborate and work with you together. So we have orders for our product even before the features are there. Usually, as a software manufacturer, you develop a product and you hope that someone will buy it. Here you have a opposite effect. People want to buy the product before you finished it. It's really very strange. Yeah.
How would you sum up EuroNAS in one sentence?
Making complex storage and virtualization simple. So.
And from a virtualization perspective, what makes EuroNAS different?
The EuroNAS is based on a KVM open source hypervisor. But the problem with this is if you get the standard hypervisor and download it from the internet, it's still filled with the command line. And whichever open source solution you would usually take, it's far too complex for the normal system administrator. And it's okay if you have fun on Linux and you're doing it, but the standard system administrator wants to do his job first. So his priority is to get, let's say, his database is working and make his boss happy and not, do the Linux stuff. So from that perspective, I think that's our strongest point. And taking the complexity out of it and making it at a reasonable price. Because, of course, VMware is still a great solution, but it's just expensive. And
yes.
And, of course, we are not perpetual. We don't have any perpetual. We have a perpetual license, sorry. We on purposely don't want any subscription or anything which would be like a blackmailing a customer.
Because I've heard lately, and this is starting to happen, that VMware, Broadcom are starting to send out cease and desist notices now to companies who have perpetual licenses for their software.
Exactly, they're forcing you to.
So they're strong arming you, aren't they?
Exactly, they're forcing you actually, even if you have a perpetual license, but you haven't subscribed, extended the subscription, they are forcing you to sign the document that you're not updating your system any longer because your subscription expired. And the other thing with VMwares and the other stuff is they're always concentrating on one thing. So they're concentrating either on hypervisor or you have a backup company concentrating on a backup. But I personally think that everything should be out from one manufacturer, not because we are the best of the best, but because it's the easiest for you, for the customer, to get the support. Because for us as well, I mean, if I am responsible for backup, it's much easier for me to look in the hypervisor why is something going wrong or how could I improve things, and not providing feedback to some backup manufacturer who will say, oh yeah, and do nothing.
No, that's pretty key. One of the things that not on my notes, by the way, is in dealing with you for many, many years, one of the things that I have to say EuroNAS seem to excel at is you're very responsive as a business. You and I know we've spoken on a Saturday, on a Sunday, in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
And that to me sums up a manufacturer in terms of what they want to do and how they want to develop their product and how they look after their resellers, their partners, their customers. So for me, that's a really big point.
Exactly. For example, I'm a company CEO, and I still concentrate mostly on providing technical support and doing product demos with the customers. And the main reason for it is, over the many years, I've realized that that's the best way to find out how to develop a product, how to make the product better. Not just reading some marketing materials from somewhere who has a vision what will come next. I prefer to talk directly to partners and customers, because that's the way how you learn what comes next.
Yes.
Because they're on the field, they know exactly what's going on, and not some Gardener magic quadrant telling you, what could possibly happen in the 20 years or something. It's and that's what makes the companies, I think, big when they keep small.
Yeah, there's from my perspective, there's quite a lot of virtualization players out there. Yeah. Proxmox is one that springs to mind. What makes EuroNAS different versus the 10 other vendors that are out there vying for this market? What Broadcom have done.
Exactly. Proxmox is a very good example. Yeah. I mean, Proxmox is a great product. It's really does its job pretty well. I mean, they're based on a KVM hypervisor as we are. But from the feedback of that, the problem is you have not many choices. So let's say this is a complex product, so you need a support. So if you play at home with the Proxmox, it's a great product. But if you're an enterprise and company who really needs proper support, proper development, someone who listens to your wishes, Proxmox is maybe not the best choice, because you have a choice either to get some very expensive IT consultant who will cost you a fortune and definitely much more than a EuroNAS license, or you'll pay Proxmox support, which is even more expensive than ours. So in general, it's something that on the first hand looks that it's for free. It's not usually free if you're really using it in an enterprise environment. For home, it's perfect, I would say.
Yeah, one of the things that EuroNAS provide is it's their support with their people, and you're not the Proxmox, as you say, is a really great product, but it's not got a manufacturer's brand. It's open source, it's third party developed.
Exactly.
So in terms of technical, I don't think you're really going to get the feedback and the support you need with your product. I'm talking to you. You are the manufacturer.
Exactly. And we have received very interesting feedback from many CEOs of the company CEOs, where they would phone us and say, yeah, Proxmox works well, but I have some system administrator. He did something in Linux and made it working, but nobody knows what he did. So, and he left the company. So, and that's part of the problem as well, because everything is tailored, in a command line, if you really want to do it properly.
Yes.
And like I said, if you have it at home, it's perfect. But for running a business and your worker leaves you, and you don't know what he did, so it works for months, maybe years. But sometimes, you're really in trouble if something happens and you don't know what to do. And in this case, I think talking directly to a manufacturer who build a product, who knows what he did, is probably a better choice.
eEVOS is scalable, reliable, and affordable versus the competition. Have you got, or can you share a real-world example of where it's actually being used?
My favorite example is maybe University of Fribourg in Switzerland. The reason for this is they started with us because they had problems with the open source. They wanted to build a storage solution with the GlusterFS, based on GlusterFS, which is a great file system, but it has its problems.
ClusterFS?
Gluster.
Gluster. Gluster. Yeah.
Gluster. And they would just get random errors. Performance would be not the best of the best. And they're actually faculty of informatics. So they had the smart people there. So
Right.
it's not, that's why I'm mentioning it then, because they should actually know what they're doing. And they then, on the same hardware, they installed EuroNAS and never had a single glitch since then for many years. And then they decided to switch from VMware to eEVOS. And they were amazed by the simplicity of it. So what they loved was basically it took them, few hours just to import the virtual machines, and they had many of those on many servers, and they worked out of the box. You just, we have a import wizard which will automatically inject the drivers, configure the virtual machine, start it up. You just click on, basically importing from VMware or Hyper-V or even Proxmox is just a matter of minutes, not hours, and you don't really need to be a rocket scientist to do it. You just need to click on
Do you
the
need
wizard.
any special software to do that?
No, it's embedded already with us.
Right.
You just click and say, I want to import this, and it does it for you, everything. And it changed also their way how they work, because what we also have is a so-called instant backup and recovery, which I find it's pretty unique on the virtualization market. What it does is basically creating backups of your virtual machines on the server within seconds, and you can recover within seconds. And not only this, you can pull even individual files out of these backups, because most of the time you don't want to recover the whole Windows. Some user just deleted some files, or some database got corrupt or whatever. So you can really pull it within minutes. We also have a network backup, which is of course necessary, but this freedom that changed their way how they work, because they would just not worry now if they do run some updates or upgrades of their virtual machines, because they know they can recover it within seconds. And this was not really possible with VMware. I mean, they had their snapshots, but snapshots on the VMware can consume a lot of I/O, disk I/O. If you forget about it for a few months, you can block the whole storage for weeks until it really gets consolidated. And we don't have this. We use Oracle cluster file system and this one has a very smart way of handling such things. So it really opens you a new perspective how to handle virtual machines.
Okay, Tvrtko, I've got another question. It's not written down. Immutability is a big thing in the world of ransomware. What is EuroNAS doing to prevent that or alleviate that issue?
Exactly. And it's getting worse and worse every month, I would say, almost. It's really, maybe with this AI, and hackers got an easier job than they used to have. So immutability is really very important for us as well. And the instant backup and recovery, for example, is a good example. We are making it immutable, so you can be sure that these backups can't get deleted by hackers when they are if they manage to penetrate the system.
Yeah.
I mean, you can never exclude it. I mean, we are really good, but you never know nowadays. And we are also expanding it to our network backup. And we also have a very interesting project with a company called Fortuna Data, which you probably know, have heard of.
Only just.
Yeah. And we're working together with Lenovo and you guys for building that type of solution where basically we are planning to do the best of both worlds. So we will be combining the virtualization with the storage.
Yeah.
So basically the idea is that the user will be using a very proven tailored hardware from Lenovo. And they will have a possibility to run their own favorite backup software within a virtual machine, and at the same time, only this virtual machine will get exclusive access to the storage part of the same server. So you don't need a separate servers, anything. You will have this all in one, and the storage will be separated from the normal user, so nobody can actually access the software except of this virtual machine. And still, we will be doing immutable backups of this whole storage at the same time with this instant backup and recovery technology. So basically, there will be several layers of security within, which is pretty unique on the market. I'm not aware of any solution being capable of doing so. And so this, I think this will be a big opportunity for us and for the customers to get really the best of both worlds and the best security they can imagine. And the greatness of this solution is also that you can really scale it with all the storage technology we have. So you can run it as start with a single node. You can then add a mirror later, so mirror it on a different location. You can even build a Ceph if you need a huge archive for it. So you have the maximum flexibility and maximum security.
Does eEVOS handle, in VMware's terms, like vMotion?
vMotion, we have actually all you need. So we have actually 4 types of moving VMs. So we have this standard vMotion you're used to with VMware. We call it live migration. So you can live migrate between the nodes as you like. We also have a storage migration, so you can move live without shutting down the virtual machines between the disks. So you don't need, if you have different disks, you can just move the VM. You can also move the virtual machines between completely different installations. So let's say you have quite often we have customers that want to upgrade their hardware, for example, or they have somewhere else the system that they want to move. They don't need to shut down this virtual machine. They can virtually just move it live from a complete different installation from a complete different eEVOS cluster to a different one. And then again, the things that we did in cooperation with you guys was disaster recovery, we call it. The basic idea is that you have quite often you have installations on different sites. And we do support synchronous replication, but synchronous replication works as good as your network is. And if you have a different site with only, let's say, 10 megabit line, you can't do this because it wouldn't work. So the idea is that you either constantly copy the virtual machine on a different site, or you decide at which time or days you wish to copy this virtual machine, and you would get exact copy on the other side. And it's basically encrypted, so the copy transfer is encrypted, and you can even decide which bandwidth you wish to use. So let's say if you only have, let's say, 10 megabit line, you can say, okay, I need 5 megabit for other stuff. So you can decide, okay, I'll just use 5 megabit. And it's also secured. So let's say if your connection breaks, it'll still use the last working copy of it. So it's not maybe, something where you can get real-time data on both sides, but it's as good as it gets. And you can decide. So let's say you have a DNS server. DNS server don't change that much. So you can copy it once in a week. But if you have some database, it wouldn't harm to constantly copy it. And maybe you are losing, depending on your speed, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, but it's better than nothing. From that perspective,
So looking forward to the next 12 to 18 months, what are like the 3 to 4 biggest things that you'll be developing moving forward? What's your key target area to address?
One of the major things is what we have noticed is there are many MSPs who are really in need because with this VMware transition, it really just went crazy for them because the pricing is, for the normal customer, the pricing tripled. But for such MSPs, it got 10 times more sometimes if you're really, depending on your installation. For the big guys, I'm not talking about the big guys. I'm talking about the normal, the normal company size. And so we are working closely with them. So there will be a lot of in this direction with automatic scripting so that they can really, run their data centers completely automated with our software. Other thing is also the storage part. It's growing massively. We actually didn't even expect that it'll be so much with the Ceph. But we have many, especially cloud providers, who are really astonished how quickly and how easy they can set up a such type of a storage. So we will be developing further in that direction as well with Ceph and additional features to it. And as we have a cooperation already with this, is to put this both worlds together, even in a better way, the storage and virtualization.
Yes.
Because they shouldn't be separate, in my opinion. They should be one.
Yeah.
Because they depend on each other anyway.
And one of the other features that we're often asked about is if you've got multiple clusters, your software can handle multiple clusters from a management perspective.
This is coming now in the next months as well. So there will be two things that we are planning. First of all, that if you have multiple clusters on multiple sites, it will be much easier to manage them than it is now. It is already easy now, but this will be much better. And the other thing will be many of our customers approach us that they want to limit VM access to certain users.
Yes.
So let's say you have, let's see, for simplicity, just few virtual machines, and one is for the accountant, the other one is for accounting, the other one is for the SQL database, and the other one is for, opening doors in a building. So maybe the guy who is, in charge of opening doors in the building shouldn't have access to the accountant. So we will be separating this login. So if he logs in within eEVOS, he will only see his own virtual machines that are assigned to him. He won't be able to manage or even see the other virtual machines.
Well, Tvrtko, I'd like to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me
and
here.
May our relationship work for another 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, let's hope so, yeah.
Thank you, Tvrtko, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
His top on.
Exactly, and then Millie can cut some, from some stadium, some people, and
I don't want to hold them, I'm just sit on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.